Welcome to Derry has finally reached its bloody, fog-covered climax, and Episode 8, titled Winter Fire, delivers exactly what a season finale about Pennywise should. Chaos, heartbreak, mythology, and a painful reminder that Derry never really heals. It just forgets. In this video, I'm breaking down the finale, talking about what worked, what didn't, the character arcs, the horror, and how this episode sets up the larger IT universe we already know from the movies. So grab your balloons, avoid the sewers, and let's dive into Winter Fire. Episode 8 opens with Derry swallowed in a thick, unnatural fog, the visual signal that Pennywise is fully awake and unleashed on the town. It's a haunting image that immediately tells you this isn't just another scare sequence. This is the event the entire season has been slowly building toward. The tone from the start is apocalyptic, yet weirdly intimate. On one side, you have a town on the brink of mass trauma, and on the other, you have these kids, Lily, Ronnie, and Marge, who are just trying to survive the aftermath of the black spot and make sense of their grief for Richie. That contrast between cosmic evil and very human pain is where this episode really shines. The show doesn't waste time getting Pennywise into full, monstrous form. Once one of the ritual pillars is moved, the clown is free, and the fog becomes his hunting ground. His first major target is the high school, and this sequence is one of the standout moments of the entire season. Using the principal's voice over the intercom, Pennywise dismisses the older students and summons the younger kids to the gym. What follows is a nightmare. The principal's corpse used like a puppet, Pennywise tearing off his head, and chaos as the trapped students bang on the doors while the clown performs that disturbingly playful dance we all recognize. It feels like a twisted mashup of Carrie and classic IT imagery, and it perfectly captures Pennywise's personality, theatrical, cruel, and almost amused by the terror he creates. This scene also does something important. It reminds us how powerless the average Derry citizen really is. The adults have no idea what they're dealing with, and the kids are just cattle to be slaughtered unless someone steps up. At the heart of the episode are our three main kids, Lily, Ronnie, and Marge, who have quietly evolved into this era's proto-losers club. They're traumatized by Richie's death, haunted by the standpipe covered in missing person posters, and fueled by a mix of fear and rage. Marge gets one of the best lines of the season: "I want to kill that fucking clown." It's raw, it's angry, and it captures how these kids are done running. They're not just scared victims anymore. They're willing to become hunters, even if they're wildly outmatched. What really elevates their dynamic is the introduction of the mystic dagger, whose power is awakened through Hallorann's psychic sensitivity. Their struggle over the dagger turns into a tense, physical, emotional confrontation as Lily feels drawn into its influence, while Ronnie and Marge try desperately to pull her back. The tug of war isn't just over a weapon. It's over whether trauma is going to twist them into something darker, or whether they'll hang on to their humanity. One of the most intriguing parts of this finale is how it deepens the mythology around Pennywise. Hallorann, connected to The Shining and the larger Stephen King universe, senses what the dagger really is and what it can do. The dagger becomes the focal point of the fight against Pennywise, not just a random magical item, but a manifestation of a deeper, older power that can actually wound this ancient being. The way the episode uses Hallorann is smart. He's not there to solve everything for the kids, but to point them in the right direction, to interpret the supernatural rules that they're too young or too inexperienced to fully grasp. It gives the story a sense of continuity with other King works while keeping the emotional weight centered on the new characters. The eventual showdown with Pennywise is intense, messy, and emotional, which is exactly what it needed to be. The kids, the dagger, and Pennywise collide in a sequence that balances spectacle with character. We see how the clown feeds off their fears, but also how their anger and love for each other give them enough strength to push back. Without spoiling every single shot, what stands out is how vulnerable Pennywise actually appears here. He's still terrifying, still overwhelmingly powerful, but there are hints that the right combination of ritual, courage, and connection can hurt him, even if he can't be fully destroyed yet. That's crucial, because this is a prequel, We know he survives until the events of IT, but the finale still manages to feel consequential. Another provocative element is the revelation about General Shaw and the military's strategy, essentially letting Pennywise loose on the population to create a common enemy and unify people through shared fear. It's a twisted, almost cynical commentary on how institutions are willing to weaponize horror if they think it will stabilize their power. Shaw's fate, losing his head to Pennywise in brutal fashion, acts as a dark moral punchline. The entity he thought he could control or use as a tool is the one that literally decapitates him, making it clear that no one manipulates IT manipulates you. Once the chaos is over and Pennywise is forced back into his cyclical slumber, the town's reaction is chilling in a different way. People wander the streets like they weren't just frozen in place. Kids return to school like nothing happened, and the horror of the gym massacre seems to evaporate from collective memory. This is classic Derry, a place corrupted so deeply that denial becomes a survival mechanism. The trauma doesn't vanish. It gets buried, papered over, and left to fester until the cycle begins again, 27 years later. The episode nails this eerie, calm after the storm feeling, where peace itself feels wrong, like a lie everyone agrees to tell. The finale also takes time to send our characters down different paths, hinting at the future we already know from the larger IT story. Will and his family prepare to leave Derry, but ultimately they decide to stay, with the implication that this choice shapes his son's future as a librarian, a clear nod toward how this town breeds guardians and witnesses for its evil. Ronnie leaves town with her still fugitive father, with help from Rose to get them safely over the border, giving her arc a rare note of hope and escape. Back in Derry, Lily and Marge attempt to return to something like normal life, but that normal now exists in the shadow of everything they've seen. When Lily says that one day this will be someone else's fight, it lands hard because we know exactly who will inherit that burden: the Losers Club of 1989. Of course, because this is a franchise show, there's a post-credits scene, and it's a good one. We jump forward to 1988, intersecting directly with the timeline of the IT films. We catch up with Ingrid, and there's a surprising cameo from one of the Losers Club, who gets a chilling reminder that in Derry, no one ever really dies. This line doesn't just refer to individual characters. It applies to the town's sins, to Pennywise, and to the cycles of violence that Derry keeps repeating. It's a smart way to connect the show back to the movies, while reinforcing the idea that everything we've seen here is just one turn of a very old wheel. Overall, Winter Fire is a strong, emotionally charged finale that delivers on most of the promises the season has been making. Here are some of the biggest strengths. The horror set pieces, especially the high school gym massacre and the fog-covered town, are visually memorable and tonally on point. The character work around Lily, Ronnie, and Marge gives the episode real emotional stakes. They feel like fully formed kids, not just monster bait. The use of the dagger and Hallorann deepens the lore without overwhelming the story with exposition. The ending embraces ambiguity and denial instead of neat closure, which fits Derry perfectly. It feels big enough for a finale, but still grounded in the perspective of the kids, which is where any good IT story belongs. That said, the episode isn't flawless. Some moments can feel a bit heavy-handed, especially when the themes of rage, trauma, and institutional corruption are spelled out too directly. A few viewers may also feel that, because we know Pennywise has to survive, the climax can only go so far. There's a built-in ceiling on how final this finale can really feel. Additionally, the government/military subplot around General Shaw, while conceptually interesting, might feel slightly underdeveloped for how big its implications are. You get the message: humans can be just as monstrous, but the show doesn't have the time to fully explore that idea. Winter Fire wraps up Season 1 of IT. Welcome to Derry with a mix of carnage, sorrow, and haunting quiet, and for the most part, it sticks the landing. It gives us a brutal Pennywise rampage, a believable young trio stepping into losers-style roles, and a mythology that both respects and expands the IT universe. Most importantly, it understands that the real horror of Derry isn't just the clown in the sewer, it's the way the town absorbs horror, forgets it, and waits for it to return. As a finale, Episode 8 doesn't just end a season, it locks another piece of the IT puzzle into place and leaves us staring down a future we already know is coming. So that's my breakdown and review of IT. Welcome to Derry Episode 8, Winter Fire. Let me know in the comments, what was your favorite moment from the finale? And did this episode change how you see Pennywise or Derry as a whole? If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss my upcoming breakdowns and horror deep dives. Thanks for watching, and remember, in Derry, the nightmare always comes back.